Welcome to another episode of Live with the Glitter Practitioner. That is me, episode 38, I believe. Thank you for joining me today. Do let me know in comments where you are tuning in from, because I just love going back after the show and saying hi, glitter bombing my own comments on my own show, and I just love it. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Nupi, the Glitter Practitioner, and I am a family physician, general practitioner in the UK. And I'm also a spiritual and transformation life coach. And nothing lights me up more than when I'm sharing and showing either my patients or my clients through my coaching program, truly understanding their whole self health needs from a physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual perspective. And it's when somebody really understands what those needs are and understands how to maintain the balance, because everything's connected. Knowing this, it helps align you with your truest self. And I created a framework which basically walks you through this, called the F list is what I've called it. It's my holistic prescription, which really shows you how to keep your own needs in balance. And that came from my own burnout, which was 12-ish years ago now. Everything I learned and further discovered is packaged in this list, which is so much more than a list. But I think the best way to really show somebody the feel of working through the F list or working through my coaching program, and truly what that feels like, is I think it's just beautifully captured in my brand story, which was created by the incredibly talented Devon James Stinson. And I think it really does capture the essence of whole person, heart-centered care. And it's just beautiful. So, Mr. Producer, please may we have the brand story on?
Follow the light through the storm. And this is not a light that warns, it's a light that forms on the pathway ahead. So you can maneuver around disaster instead of getting stopped by the obstacles. It just takes changing the obstacles. And then the impossible turns to possible. And then the storm lifts. You're no longer adrift. Breathe, focus, you've got this. Ahead you see a figure, a kind soul, and on the inside it feels like you might glow. Your endless cycles of cyclones have been turned to a breeze that just slightly blows. You're adorned with glitter, where you literally feel like a kid again. And this is when you realize how much of your life you've missed. And then you talk more with Dr. Nupi Aurora, who will holistically change your aura, where you and the new you won't be like strangers. No, you'll be like friends. Because this whole process is simply life-changing. So if you're feeling frazzled and you want to find your fizz and dazzle, then book a call with Dr. Nupi Aurora by messaging her right here on LinkedIn.
I've gone all dreamy. It's always so soothing. So today's guest is a prankster, big time. He's my honorary big brother. I'm just looking. I might just keep it going for a bit longer. Come on down, Mr. Russ Hedge. Come on.
Ta-da! what happens when you're producing the show as well as being on it. You mute yourself. Ta-da! That's what happens. You're trying to get me on. I was making you wait a moment. So there you go.
I know. Hello, Mr. Russ Hedge.
Hey,
How
how
are
is my
you?
little sis?
I'm good. It's been a really crazy couple of days, actually. It's been really, really busy. But I'm good. Thanking you.
Good.
Yes. I'm feeling very, what's the word?
Feeling very giddy.
Oh,
I think
not giddy. It's not giddiness. It's kind of like I feel like I'm I don't know what as if I'm going to go and chop wood or something. As if I'm chucking t-shirt.
Well,
I'm quite sort
you know
of
what?
relaxed today.
Yeah, just
That's
take
what
it
it is.
easy. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Wait, it's interesting because
Yeah.
this morning I was actually reading about rest and peace for your soul and for your life, because we tend to overwork ourselves. And I'm in the middle of a crazy busy day too, as you know. And so I get it. I just
Yeah.
keep hearing these voices, slow down, slow down. And
So
my beautiful wife
important.
is in the other room saying, slow down, slow down.
Oh, and it is so important because rest and rejuvenation is absolutely essential for healing
It is.
and
And yes,
repairing your cells and repairing your body, as well as restoring your mind. And just, yes,
yes,
she says.
just,
And
yeah,
I am, no, I am much, much better. I really don't like that. I think it's my hair that's bugging me. That's what I'm keep on looking at it. And I'm like, okay. Sorry, I'm not even going to
okay.
look. So, yes,
All
but
right.
it's so important.
Yeah, it is.
And,
It is.
yeah.
Well, hey, let me tell everybody who I am. My name is Russ
yeah,
Hedge,
sorry.
and I am a marketing coach, keynote speaker. I am your inspiration specialist. I'm here to inspire and encourage you to live a purpose-driven life of significance. So what does that mean? I want you to be a world changer. I want you to be a difference maker. I want you to do the amazing things God created you to do. That's what I'm all about. I love to connect and build community, but it's really important. I made a really great connection this morning with an outstanding individual, and she and I were talking about making the right connections is also very important, because being intentional about your community, be intentional about your choices in your path are very important. So I am definitely all about that as well. And it's interesting. We had not actually talked about this, but I have been going through an interesting medical journey with my cancer. And everybody knows, I think, well, not everybody, a lot of people know about that, but hey, if you don't know, I had a melanoma on the bottom of my foot, and they had to surgically remove it, rebuild my entire instep, and then they had to do a bunch of plastic surgery, and I couldn't walk for over 6 weeks. So it was quite a process, still healing, still having treatments for that. But the reason I bring that up, Noopy, this is really interesting. I met for the first time, my doctors are like, oh yeah, we deal with this. That's normal. We got this. I'm like, okay, because I've never heard of anybody with melanoma on their foot. And I met an individual a couple days ago who had melanoma on his foot and was going through this. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got connected to him through Mark Kageyama. You probably know Mark. I always butcher his last name.
Mark's lovely.
But anyway, he is an awesome individual. But we were talking, this gentleman was years ahead of me. He's been battling this for 11 years. So technology was not anywhere near where it is today. And he's lost his foot, then the lower part of his leg, and is still battling, and it spread all the way into his lungs. And so I am feeling very blessed. He has a great attitude. He loves the Lord. I love this guy. I just loved him. He was a great guy. But I'm also very thankful that mine happened years later when technology had really advanced. And so anyway, that's just a little side story, because I just found it so interesting. I was amazed that I met this guy, and he was just, we've already set up to meet again. He's amazing.
Wow. That's incredible. And talking of that, I mean, you've done amazingly through your journey. And I know everybody knows you as Mr. Positive, which you are. And I think there's a lot to be said in the attitude, the way you carry yourself, the words we use to speak of ourselves,
Yeah.
of our situations. Tell me a little bit more about your journey so far. How has it been for you in terms of the care and in terms of what's helped you through the whole process?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I am Mr. Positive. I mean, I don't say that braggingly. That's just my personality, right? I had the most amazing mama, and I am her. Super positive, super outgoing. And from the time I was little, she had me up singing and dancing for everybody, right? That was just my life. And I just, it was just fun. And I was an instant showman from the time I was little, but I was just really fun, outgoing, and positive. And that is just, God blessed me with that. That's who I am. So do I ever get negative and do bad things happen? Absolutely. But usually I'm really upbeat and positive, which, like you said, Noopy, does help tremendously. In fact, it's been scientifically proven that your attitude and your mindset on life will affect the way you heal and the way that you deal with illness. I mean, your body you actually can not heal yourself. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you can actually make things better physically, or you can make them worse physically. And that is a scientific fact. So yes, that has helped a lot. But
I will just, interject there
no, please do.
And say to you, yes, you can heal yourself. Actually, you can. It's understanding what those needs are. And it's the small things, it's the tiny things. You can actually, once you understand where the triggers are coming from and what is slowing down that healing process, you can do so much. The human body and the mind, particularly, it's incredible. It's incredible.
It is amazing. I agree.
Continue.
No,
I
it's
had
fine.
to say that.
It's fine. It's fine. It really, I mean, that is a true fact. The human mind of connected to your body is an amazing thing. I'm a true believer that God created us amazing. You asked me what has helped me get through this. I have a strong faith and I have an amazing support system. So I have a beautiful wife, 2 wonderful children, and a beautiful daughter-in-law, and we're all getting together soon. And that is really that was my rock right there. And I really felt from the get-go, God had really given me a peace that I was going to be okay. The doctors have been very positive. In fact, the OHSU in Portland, where I go to, and I'm glad to shout them out, they are amazing as far as taking care of me. They care, they listen. I think with you, Noopy, with a holistic approach, when I used to go to a naturopath, what I noticed is that the positive things about them is they listened, they took time, and they really cared, and they really looked into things. And you are just like that, because you spent time with Leah and I, and you talked through some things, and you were amazing. So my doctors at OHSU really are the same. They're not in a big hurry. In fact, my oncologist that I went to just a couple of days ago when I had my treatment sat around, talked to me for a while, asked me questions. I mean, it just makes me feel like they care. They are interested in what's going on with me, and they're investigating everything they can, right? Like next month I have more tests and that kind of stuff. I mean, I just feel like that is medicine at its best, when you've got people that really care.
Yes. And it's when you're treated as a person. And I think that should be obvious. But it's I think modern times, everything's so rushed. I sound like a real granny, but it's so rushed, and it's instant gratification, instant now.
Yeah.
And yes, there are time constraints, but I think this is why I'm so passionate about what I do. When you're dealing with another person, another human being, I think it also depends on demographics where you work. I mean, I've worked in a very inner city area, hugely deprived, lots of very complex cases, physical health, emotional health, the whole works. And it just takes that tiny little bit extra of seeing somebody not as a presenting problem, what they're coming in with, I mean, and not just a number, not just the next person on your list, but is another human being who may have really struggled to get out of the house to make that appointment, which is why they're getting all arsy at receptionist or whatever. It's just seeing a little bit beyond. And I guess what's behind that person, what's their backstory. And that is, when you connect that with the patient's problem, the presenting problem, you get way more understanding of how that's impacting them. And that's, I guess it just boils down to connecting from here, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and I'm all about connection, and
Mm.
true connection is really caring and really just being yourself. And,
Yeah.
in all the sales and marketing that I've done for years, and we talk about the know, like, and trust factor and all of that.
Yeah.
That's really a life theme, because we're
Yeah.
constantly on this wheel. We're constantly on this know, like, and trust wheel. And we are getting, we're getting to know people, just a natural way of life. Even if we don't intentionally do a lot of it, it still happens. We get to know people, we get to like them, and suddenly we trust them and they become a really good friend. And then the process keeps going. But it's so much like that in healthcare too, because when doctors get to know you and, you really like who you're working with. I had an opportunity to move to a different doctor part of the time, a different oncologist for my treatment, even though the rest of it would have still been up at OHSU in Portland. And I'm like, no, I really don't want to. It's not that I had anything against the other doctor. I just told the doctor that I was working with, and I have several, I said, I'll be honest with you. I really like you and I like what you're telling me. And I said, I don't want to upset the apple cart. Besides, it ends up splitting communication between two different medical facilities, that's asking for trouble. No matter how good you are, when you're having to communicate with two busy organizations, they have to communicate, then they have to communicate with you. You're just asking for trouble. So I just said, no, I'm just going to stay. Thank goodness my treatments were only once every month, basically. And so I don't have to drive up there a whole lot. This friend of mine that I was talking about, this new friend that is dealing with this, he is now dealing with an experimental thing that he's doing that is helping. But he drives every third week. So he gets 2 weeks off every third week. He is going to treatment daily for that week. It makes him intensely ill that whole week. So he's really sick that whole week. And then he gets 2 weeks off, and this is his life. And you know what I found amazing? He had an amazing perspective, an amazing attitude. He really felt like the people he was working with were like that. They cared about him. This wasn't, plus he felt like he was doing something bigger than himself. He felt like, I may not make it a whole lot more years. Who knows, but this will help other people down the road. Other people be able to, the doctors to be able to get that scientific research. So it was amazing.
It's hope, isn't it? It's keeping fostering hope, and that, again, that positive attitude. And it's, that's not easy, especially when you've been, you've got a diagnosis, going through those side effects, having to, your whole life gets turned upside down. And it's so important. I think surrounding yourself with supportive people who can uplift you, all these things really do matter. And as you said, the experience that you've had from the professionals looking after you, you're feeling cared for, you're feeling heard, you're feeling seen. And that, I think, that says a lot. It really does. And it can really change that patient's journey.
It does. And, we've all dealt with good and bad, in everything in life. And it's very, very important, I think, for medical professionals. They need to realize that the patient, they have to not forget, because they're a patient sometimes too. They need to not forget that the patient is having issues. And like you said, their world is turned upside down, and they've got to walk through this with them. And they're there to support them both medically and somewhat emotionally through the process. Because I can tell you, when I got my initial cancer diagnosis, it stung a little bit and it took me a minute to adjust to, but it was a lighter one. It was stage 2 originally. They were going to cut it out. They felt really positive and they didn't think it had spread. Well, when I got the second report after my surgery a week later, and they told me it had gone to stage 3C and that I was going to have to go through treatment because they found another tumor and it had spread. That really took me back. And really, I'll be honest with you, I think I told the story. We didn't want to burden my son and daughter-in-law. They're down in California until we were getting through it. My wife and daughter were with me in my room, and we were talking, and I was on the phone. My son called, and he says to me, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "Good." He goes, "Well, how is what are the results of your biopsy, or not biopsy? What do they do? Anyway, what are the results of the stuff they took? They took a lymph node out of me." So these are my technical medical terms. I don't know what that is, but basically, when he asked me that straight out, I had the phone on speaker because we were all talking.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter start crying, and then I start crying because
my God.
we're just adjusting to it. This
Yeah.
is what I'm giving a little insight to is, yes, it turns your life upside down. Your brain and you've got to adjust. No matter how positive you are, you need to adjust to the fact that, hey, they've just said you're cancer, and like my doctor said, he called me and he said, it's really not good. He goes, that's not good. But the good news is, he told me, that we can beat this and we can have treatment and you will be fine. And, he was very positive about it. He says, I understand though, that this change in diagnosis, it's quite a jump, and that's not a good thing. I understand that. So what I liked is his authentic approach to me, to tell me, I understand this is not good news, but I also want you to know there is hope and there is good news. Right. But anyway, when my son asked me that, we all were crying, and, then my son couldn't talk anymore. So my daughter-in-law hops on the phone because he's completely lost it. So, but the point is, the following day, we got a good night's rest. And I'll be honest with you, the following day, God really restored peace to me. And I felt totally great. Like, I know God's got this. Everything's going to be fine. And the doctors are amazing. They're optimistic. And I was really okay. But you go through those things. But my doctor's approach really did help me. He was honest. He was straightforward, saying, I understand this is not good news. This is not good, but there is hope. There is good things. And I really appreciated that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you've mentioned something really important here, that, thank you for sharing that, by the way. And it's not easy, but, and you are going to have upset moments and get pissed off and get angry and feel, why is this happening to me? That's a normal human reaction. It would be weird if you didn't think that. I would say, I'm like, okay, I'd say maybe somebody's still in shock or they're still in denial over it, but it's how you navigate through it. And it's what comes up when we talk about this all the time, don't we? About, it's not about being positive and just walking around with your head buried in the sand almost and going, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine.
That's how I like to be, by the way. That's how I like
to be. Yeah, like happy skipping everywhere. No, it's about having a... I just got this image in my head. Oh, gosh. But it's more about having an optimistic attitude. Right. And how you then work through whatever's going on, whatever the challenge is at that time. And it's okay, well, I can choose to look at positive ways of looking through this, or you can choose the negative, and the negative is going to bring you down. And that does have an impact on your physical symptoms. If you're in a negative mindset, you tend to have, a negative bias. You're always going to think the worst, and you're going to feel the way your body interprets this. You feel pain symptoms more. You feel fatigued more. All of these things have a knock-on effect, and that's the whole mind, body, and soul approach that I always go on about, in terms of one's linked to the other. You can't have one without the other. Right. And when you know that, and then make then intentional choices, change the way you are viewing the world, your perspective, you can, through your thought processes, through what you're feeling, you can change that, and you can keep going forward with it. Yeah. Nobody says it's easy. but there is ways through it.
Yeah.
You can get support with this.
So I want to say this is interesting
Mm.
because people should think about this, because I have to do this. So you're made a certain way and you're going to be a certain way up front. And then you've got to navigate through things based on you, your personality, who you are, and how you deal with stuff. So I deal with things. It's pretty clear what I do. I compartmentalize life really well. I compartmentalize off, and I keep the happy Russ right here. And that's not non-authentic. That is really who I am, but I'm
I
good at
know.
compartmentalizing off of the negative things, right? And I make intentional choices to not watch things. Like I don't watch the news. I don't
Me
watch certain
too.
things because it is a nightmare and it makes you negative. But the thing is, then people will say, "Oh, well, you're burying your head in the sand." Well, trust
No.
me, I get enough news. My wife keeps me updated.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and everything is scrolling across you on the screen on the internet anyway, so you can't miss it. But the thing that I have learned that I have to overcome is, so my kids say, Dad, everything is not happy. They used to give me a hard time.
Yeah.
And I would say, you're right. It's not always happy, but you can choose. I always say life happens and then you choose. You can choose to be positive when you go from there. But I do tend to totally ignore things, totally suppress some of my emotions. I think I've had to learn to actually let my emotions out, because not that I'm not an emotional person. I mean, I have a certain amount of that in me, but I tend to suppress that because to me, I view it as negative. So I suppress it, right? It's negative. I suppress it. Well, you can't always do that. So what I have learned is you got to let it out. You got to let yourself be sad. Like when mama died, you have to cry and let yourself be sad. You've got to let yourself have, sometimes maybe even a day of being depressed. I mean, you just got to give yourself time to go through the emotions, because what it does then is you don't bottle them up. And then later on down the road, you explode, right? Because you've been bottling them the whole time. You've got to let this stuff out. And then you choose where you go from there. I'm sad. I feel horrible. This sucks. I wish this never happened. God, why is this going on? To, got it. I'm learning. I'm growing. Positive things are coming out of this. It was a negative, really bad situation, but you know what? I am learning and I'm utilizing this with my cancer journey. God has used me to be positive, encouraging, uplifting to other people, and to be able to encourage them that are going through similar things, or even people that are going through different stuff. I just say, you know what? This is happening to me, but life is really okay. I'm going to be good, And so anyway, I know we have to wrap up, but I just wanted to tell you that.
Before we do, yes, no, thank you. But just to finish that point, also, there is nothing wrong. It's not a sign that you're not coping. If you're having negative thoughts and you're not feeling great about yourself and feeling sad and all of these things, again, it's a perfectly normal human reaction and emotion. You can have a really shitty hand being dealt out to you, and everybody's
what type of hand was that?
A shitty hand, as in, really bad hand. What? As you have really something happens in your life, oh, stop it, you're just messing around now. But it's all about how it's allowing yourself to feel the feels. There's nothing wrong with that. Trying to pretend it's not happening, well, you're blocking yourself almost. It's again, you're pushing things down, and all that's going to happen, it's going to bite you in the ass 5 years later or something.
And people do that, and I do that. I do that. See, and that's the thing, and that's where you have to learn, because you have to learn that, yes, it's good. It's good that I have a positive attitude. It's good that I can, not focus on really negative things. All that is good. It's good that I'm being positive, all that, but I can't suppress everything like you're saying. Yeah, I've got to acknowledge. Yep.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's about, so this is the bit of the, oh yes, I can get to do my Fs, get some F bombs, go in. So that's the, the notice what your feelings are, the notice the thoughts, name them, because it reduces the power of them. And you can intentionally choose a different word instead, which has got less impact. And then it's about reframing that thought, that pattern, that belief, which is akin to F1, 2, and 3. Are you ready? Cough, focus and breathe and flip. So the fuck off is all about, boom, stopping that thought process. It's not about blocking it. It's not about masking it either. It's just going, okay, let me just take a step back, give myself a bit of a pause time, look in, are my needs being met? And then with the focus and the breathe, using the breath work to keep your here. So you're not in react mode and knee jerking. It's just respond. And then the flip is all about the reframe. So where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that this is true? How else could I look at this? What else could this be showing me? And more often than not, it's the things, the pain points in life, the struggles that you have, the way you feel, the negative stuff, the shadow self is what I say. Very often that's the bit that teaches you the most. And it's having the courage and the compassion for self just to allow yourself to look in a bit further. And that's where the growth happens. It's not an automatic,
Right.
Let's be positive and it's all going to go away. That's not realistic, quite frankly. Come off it. I know, but you don't do that. You know what I'm talking about. It's
I would do that if it was left to my own devices, because I want to be, let's be positive, let's move on. I mean,
it's like going la 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 la.
Yeah. Everything, my go-to, and this is where befuddled came from. This is the whole story there. My go-to is I'm fine, everything's good, life is good, I'm happy, it's good, it's fine. That's my go-to, right?
Yeah.
So no matter how I feel, I go to that naturally, right?
Yes.
I'm all good. Actually. And then I have to, as I was driving away after my wife told me I look befuddled, I then acknowledge, suddenly I realize and acknowledge. Why? Because I gave myself time and space. Time and space. Everybody needs time and space. In the mornings when I do my prayer and devotion and all things that I do, I give myself time and space. And as I'm doing that, it reminds me to breathe, to be quiet, and just acknowledge things that are going on. It does. And then it helps me laugh. And then, but you know what I love about your reframe, the number 3 is?
Yes.
That's where, life happens and then you choose. That's the choose part, because
that's right.
You're choosing to have a positive perspective and frame it in a way that that you can go forward in a positive direction. Even if it's only one baby step at a time. People don't realize that. People tell me, well, everything is just not going to be fine. Everything is not good. And I'm like, absolutely, you're right. Yeah. But you know what? You can make positive baby steps, 1%, one little step at a time. You can make a change and a difference.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. But you're moving the right direction. So, all right. I've used all my time.
Yes, you have. Indeed, you have. So thank you so much, Russ, for coming on today. Do tell everybody, how can they... I love the way you say that. Do it again. Say it again. One more time.
Thank you, Noopy.
Thank you. Oh, I could just keep doing that. Oh, gosh. Okay. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Well, amazingly enough, it's been ticking along the bottom of the screen. And the easiest way to get in touch with me is russhedge.com. russhedge.com, as Noopy laughs hysterically. russhedge.com is got contacts to all my social media, all of my everything from my email to my phone number. You can even schedule time directly on my calendar. That's how you get in touch with me. russhedge.com. And you know what? I do love to connect. And my goal this year, again, is to connect with over 1,000 new people. And people say that's a lot. Well, it's really only about 3 a day. And by the way, I knocked that out of the park last year. Easily did 1,000 new connections last year. So I really need to, I'm needy for connection, because I love to seek out positive, uplifting, like-minded people that are making a difference in the world. So if that's you, connect with me at russhedge.com. Thanks, Noopy.
And no problem. And if you are thinking of doing a live stream show and you need a producer, perhaps, he is your man, because he's fantastic. Russ, you're fantastic. And thank you so much. And big shout out. Thank you for sponsoring Live with the Glitter Practitioner as well. I forgot to say that before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So
I'm
please
gonna say
don't go
goodbye to myself.
anywhere. No, wait. No, we have to do it properly, like I always do.
Okay. All
Don't
right.
go anywhere because I will meet you in the green room. Okay?
Okay. Bye.
See you later. Oh, gosh, time just goes so quickly. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. Just a reminder, you can find me here. I pretty much live on LinkedIn, and all my contact details will be, it's been showing up all throughout this. If you have been feeling fed up, frazzled, just exhausted, all these things that we've been talking about, reach out, please. You don't have to do this on your own. Either direct message me right here on LinkedIn or book a call with me. My Calendly link will be all over. It's on my About section and on the show notes. So please do reach out. So you can find me here every Monday at 8 o'clock GMT, which is 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and every other Tuesday on at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 3:30 GMT, for the other show that I co-host with Dr. Diana Londoño, Supernova Soul Sisters, Physicians in Motion. Thank you for watching me and joining me for the show today, and I shall see you again next week. Bye.